Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support all of the time, even during these unprecedented times in our country. But it is time for good news, and this press conference is exactly to deliver that to the South African public. Without further ado, I want to let in our national chairperson, Mr. Michael Beaumont, to take us through the program. At the end of his speaking, I will allow for a Q&A session. Should you have questions in advance, please use the chat function. I will be able to ask your questions on your behalf and get them answered. Otherwise, please write them down, hold them off, and then you can put on your video or indicate through your virtual hand that you would like to speak, and I will gladly afford you that opportunity. Without wasting too much time, Michael Beaumont, let me give you the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lorato, and good morning to you. Good morning to members of the media who are present with us today, and our warmest greetings to South Africans who are observing these proceedings through social media. It is my great pleasure to address you today to announce the outcomes of our candidate elections that took place in the week of the 20th of June. These candidate elections heralded a first in South African politics. As a political party, ActionSA, with its origins in the People's Dialogue, opened up its processes so that any member of the public, whether they were a member of ActionSA or not, could register with us and could participate in our processes to select the very best candidates to represent them at a ward level and at a mayoral level. We are very proud of what this has heralded by way of a political first in South Africa, because we believe that the very best outcomes will involve the members of communities having the say in who represents them, rather than political parties who have demonstrated a track record in choosing the candidates that it suits them to provide to communities, but that do not necessarily serve in the very best interest of the community. I think the nature of what has been accomplished here is particularly important. Quite aside from the fact that we have opened our processes to members of the public to participate in this first of its kind, we are demonstrating a level of accountability that is another first in South African politics. By that, I mean we will have candidate representatives who will be appointed by members of the community, and by virtue of that, they will be accountable to members of the community. And this is the part that we believe is really going to be revolutionary in the South African political space. This very same system is going to prove instrumental in a performance management system, where at the midterm of the 5-year term of office, our local government representatives will be held to account by way of a midterm poll that will assess the favorability and the acceptability that residents deem of their service. And should that not be at the required grade, those individuals will be replaced using our very same system. This is the kind of accountability that we are bringing in with our candidate elections. I think very importantly, though, the candidate election saw a hybrid model of voting, with digital voting taking place throughout the course of the week, which is another innovative approach in South Africa, which was particularly important because, if you will recall, at the time of these primaries, there was very high levels of infections taking place in the greater Gauteng area. In addition to that, we held voting over the Saturday of that weekend. And on that Saturday, we opened up 35 venues across the length and breadth of Gauteng, through which thousands of people passed. At the end of the day, over 22,000 votes were cast in this process. And we are very pleased to say, we believe that we've set a standard when it comes to having safe political processes, because despite all of those people passing through those venues physically, we were able to ensure that through good COVID-19 protocols, through social distancing, through hand sanitizing, through mask wearing, we were able to make sure that there was no peak of infections that arose from our efforts. And this is something that we believe was particularly important. I think of greatest note is the caliber of the individuals that have arisen from this process. We have achieved a caliber of individuals from the voices of our communities that we are very proud of. I think critically, from this perspective, we have begun the process of finalizing our ward candidates. and our ward candidates have been communicated with to inform them that they have been successful in terms of their being elected by the community. We're very proud of the diversity that has risen out of this process, of a racial diversity that represents the demographics of our country. We're very proud that we have accomplished in the region of 40% representation of youth, which is particularly important given how young people are excluded from the political system in South Africa. We have achieved levels of gender diversity and skills diversities that we are very proud of. Our youngest candidate is a matriculant, 18 years old. Our oldest candidate is 75 years old, who is a veteran of public service, Mike Chisonga, who was the first Director General of the Department of Justice under Dalla Omar, and he will be standing in the city of Tshwane. We have a former mayor, a former acting mayor, 4 former members of the mayoral committee, a former chief of police, a former leader of the opposition in the provincial legislature in Gauteng, former MPs, but also very important to us are people who come from skill sets outside of politics, because the origins of ActionSA lie in the People's Dialogue, in which South Africans want to see people coming to the table who aren't career politicians, but who are coming to the table with skills, having succeeded elsewhere in life. We have legal professors, PhDs, advocates, educators, business leaders, entrepreneurs, SRC presidents, project managers, and community activists with track records in looking after their communities and serving them within the civil society framework. So arising from this process is a level and a caliber of candidates of which we are extremely proud. The work now turns towards our mayoral candidates and leading a process which is to ensure that we are ready to govern the 3 metros of Johannesburg, Tshwane and Ekurhuleni. And it is important at this point that I indicate to you that ActionSA is a political party that, despite its relative youth, has a track record in government by virtue of Herman Mashaba's successful tenure in the city of Johannesburg. And it is that track record on government that will form the backbone of our plans throughout Gauteng, so that we can bring that same standard to the 3 metros in Gauteng through our mayoral candidates. I think at this point it is highly appropriate, arising from the events of yesterday, that we discuss the impact of COVID-19 on our campaign, given the report tabled by Justice Moseneke. And I think particularly important is for us to commit ourselves as a political party to do everything within our power to ensure that we act responsibly, that the campaign events that we roll out have the protocols in place that ensure the safety of the South African people, and that we participate in this election in a manner which not only ensures we take our message to every single corner of the municipalities under contestation, but that we do so in a manner that puts the safety and the health of the South African people first. Finally, it is my great pleasure to begin the process of announcing our mayoral candidates, and is no more fitting place to start than where it all began, in the city of Johannesburg. The mayoral candidates who arose through the primary system, the candidate election system from the city of Johannesburg, came out of that process with no less than 94% of the votes of these primaries. He is a former mayor. He is a successful businessman and entrepreneur who was able to succeed in growing a business empire in the darkest days of our history. He is a philanthropist, and he is an individual who has demonstrated that he can bring skills and experience to the table of government and can deliver change in the most effective ways. It is my great pleasure to ask Herman Mashaba to address you as the ActionSA mayoral candidate for the city of Johannesburg.
Thank you, Michael, and my fellow residents of the city of Johannesburg, good morning. First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking those of you who participated in this historic ActionSA candidate elections and for placing your faith in me as the mayoral candidate in Johannesburg. 5 years ago, I was given the opportunity to serve the residents of this city as your executive mayor. This proved to be both the most challenging and the most rewarding job I've ever have been tasked with. Behind the illusion of the so-called world-class African city sold by the ANC, the true state of the city was one of deterioration, decay, and despair. With an infrastructure backlog estimated to be around 170 billion rands at the time, and a housing backlog of over 300,000 units, to many of its residents, Johannesburg is a world-class slum. The inner city, formerly a symbol of pride, has turned into crime and crime-ridden hell. Addressing these challenges and turning Johannesburg into a city that its residents can be proud to call home was my relentless focus for the 3 years as a mayor. I'm immensely proud of what we managed to achieve. We resurfaced almost 1,000 kilometers of roads and tarred 88 kilometers of gravel roads. We replaced almost 200 kilometers of water pipes and over 125 kilometers of sewer pipes, reducing burst and backlogs. We electrified over 10,000 households for the first time and provided over 11,000 ablution facilities to those without basic sanitation. We improved access to primary health care by opening 6 new clinics and rolling out 10 mobile clinics. And we expanded the Johannesburg Metro Police with an additional 1,500 officers. But much work remains to make Johannesburg worthy of its moniker as a city of gold. As the saying goes, I have unfinished business. My fellow residents, I stand before you today to recommit myself to the project of building an inclusive and prosperous Johannesburg for all its residents. I will resume the work of revitalizing the inner city. I launched the Inner City Revitalization Program in 2017, a bid to hand abandoned, derelict, and hijacked buildings to the private sector for mixed-use development, including affordable and student accommodation. The program was a major success. Over 3 years, we headed over 154 properties for the development, unlocking 32 billion rands in investments with the potential to create 21,000 jobs and 14,000 affordable accommodation units. Since my departure, the program has stalled under the ANC. Getting this program moving again will be a central objective where I return as a mayor of your city. I will once again declare corruption as public enemy #1 in the city. Corruption is a cancer that consumes resources needed for service delivery. During my first term, we established the city's first independent forensic service, investigated over 6,000 cases of corruption involving transactions to the value of 35 billion rands. We will resume the work to rid our city of this cancer and prosecute those who have benefited at the expense of the good, law-abiding residents of our city. This will include conducting lifestyle audits on the city's top officials to ensure that we avoid a repeat of ANC PEE corruption seen during the COVID pandemic. I will rebuild a competent, professional, and accountable public service committed to service with pride. ActionSA believes that competent, ethical leadership should be at the core of public service. As the mayor of Johannesburg, I commit to assembling a team of skilled, committed public servants to replace the comrades and cadres of the ANC that have been allowed to populate the city's management. Performance management and accountability must be the cornerstone of the public service, rewarding those committed to serving residents with pride while at the same time removing those who do not have the interests of the city at heart. I will streamline the city's bloated structure to ensure that we can improve service delivery. The city's organizational structure must be responsive to the needs of residents and ensure that quality services are delivered reliably, regardless of where you live. I'm committed to implementing the institutional review we initiated during my first term. This will see us do away with the complex structure of city's entity, saving the city money while improving service provision. We cannot have residents being sent from pillar to post while trying to resolve basic service delivery and billing queries. The city must work for its citizens. I will insource contract workers exploited by tenderpreneurs. One of the core values of ActionSA is social justice. As we all know, South Africa is today the most unequal society on earth. This is made worse by the exploitation of contract workers by tenderpreneurs serving as middlemen at the expense of vulnerable members of our society. To address this abnormality, using existing funds of the city, I intend expediting the insourcing of all services the city uses on a daily basis for the benefits of our residents. This insourcing program will provide extra take-home pay for the beneficiaries, but more importantly, it'll give them the dignity of a permanent work. I intend asking all the municipalities we are going to contesting to give this matter as one of the highest priorities. Finally, I will prioritize crime-busting efforts and Operation Buyamteto to restore the rule of law in Johannesburg. No economy can flourish in a state of chaos. We must capacitate the city's law enforcement officers to deal decisively with all forms of criminality. Residents must feel safe, while criminals must live in fear. That is the only way our city will prosper. My fellow residents of Johannesburg, change does not happen overnight, but it can start immediately. The work of fixing our beloved country starts with our cities, and it starts with casting your vote in the local government elections. ActionSA has a plan to ensure that we get the city of Johannesburg working again, because as I've always said, if Johannesburg works, South Africa works. Today, I ask for your vote and your support. Let's fix Johannesburg and ultimately South Africa together. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Herman. It is now my pleasure to make the introduction of our second mayoral candidate, who is the candidate for the city of Ekurhuleni. This candidate emerged from the primaries process with 59% of the vote. He is a former member of the media at the SABC. He is a former business development expert in the private sector and has worked in the city of Ekurhuleni previously for 8 years in the communications and marketing department. It is very difficult to introduce this candidate in such a manner where you can do adequate justice to his roots in the community and the extent to which his campaign has demonstrated a following among communities across Ekurhuleni. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you Tshwane Moseki, the mayoral candidate for the city of Ekurhuleni.
Thank you very much, Michael. Greetings to the residents of Ekurhuleni and the members of the media present with us here today. It is with great honor and humility that I accept this nomination for mayoral candidacy of ActionSA in Ekurhuleni. It is indeed an honor that fills me with unspeakable joy and immense gratitude. It is an honor forged in the furnace of your desire and demand for change. It's an honor crafted by your hand when you braved the winter chill and stormed various voting stations across Ekurhuleni to cast your vote even when it was not fashionable to do so. I therefore raise my hand in acceptance of this challenge and task. We will pursue it, not just as servants accountable to you as voters, but as ambassadors of hope. With your help, we will restore a new generation's faith in the possibility of having a government that serves, not a government that rules, a government that inspires, not a government that infuriates, a government that fights for you and not against you. Having worked as a civil servant myself, I joined ActionSA because I wanted to be part of the movement of change. Part of a movement that centered the needs of every resident and worked tirelessly to ensure that every person, no matter who they were or where they lived, got access to quality basic services. There is no denying that mass sections of city of Ekurhuleni continues to suffer from unequal access, whether be it clean sanitation, waste removal, or the hope of finally getting access to safe and affordable housing. The city has let its own people down. I'm humbled by the fact that voters within ActionSA candidate elections believed in my vision for change. I thank you for the confidence you have shown in me. As we begin our journey to the upcoming local government elections, I want to assure every resident that I'm committed to serving each of you, making sure that quality services reach every corner of our municipality. I believe that the core focus of getting Ekurhuleni back on track also requires to ensure that these where businesses and entrepreneurs can once again generate much needed jobs for our residents. Once upon a time, Ekurhuleni was Ekurhuleni's industrial hub, and our people had the dignity of work. The ANC, through its poor governance, has strangled our local economy. In these difficult times, which have been made even more difficult by COVID-19, government must at every turn work to grow jobs and economic opportunities for our residents. I'm ready to engage every one of our residents, businesses and communities in Ekurhuleni to get the city buzzing again. To bring about that change, every eligible resident in Ekurhuleni must vote the ANC out, so we can start implementing a plan for improving the lives of our people. To kickstart the recovery of Ekurhuleni, I would prioritize the following: creating environment for jobs with the city by cutting red tape and making it easier to open manufacturing businesses within the city. And part of cutting the red tapes, as our president have just indicated, would mean that we insource all security guards and cleaners working in government facilities. Secondly, we will also work with all sectors to ensure that we have a solid plan that will attract investors into the city. And obviously, in the bigger scheme of things, we will make sure that the dream of having Ekurhuleni as Africa's first aerotropolis doesn't just become a pipe dream, but that it will certainly be realized in our lifetime. Now, during my engagement with the people of Ekurhuleni, especially young people, one of the things that they raised strongly was what President announced in his 2020 State of the Nation address, in that Ekurhuleni would have its University of Science and Innovation. To this day and age, there's no tangible plans on how and where that university will be built. Instead, Mzwandile and Blade are playing hide and seek every time when they are confronted with this question. It is clear that there's no plan. Especially young people in Ekurhuleni, that as part of our 100 days in office report, we will have the place and the process and the progress report of this university. Guys, the honeymoon is over. We will work closely with private sector and rolling out entrepreneurship and opportunity centers, targeting young people and providing businesses support to residents, because we believe that the role of government is not to create jobs, but to create a conducive environment in which businesses can grow and provide meaningful employment and dignity to more South Africans, and to assist those people that cannot help themselves. We will increase the rollout of social development services to the poorest of our residents. Lastly, we will emulate the work of our President Herman Mashaba in revitalizing our inner city. We are also going to establish an independent forensic investigation unit so as to establish as to whether these politicians or officials are there to serve themselves or serve the people of Ekurhuleni. Another non-negotiable is to make Ekurhuleni a corrupt-free municipality.
It appears, ladies and gentlemen, that Tshwane may have frozen there for a second. I just want to give him a moment to see if we can bring him back. Tshwane, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here, Michael. Am I?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Would you try again, please?
Okay, I don't know where you lost me at.
I believe you were talking about combating corruption. No, I think we appear to be having some difficulties there with Tshwane. May I suggest, rather than trying to address those immediately, if we could work in the background with Tshwane to try and address them. But while that is being done, it would probably be fitting for me to turn to the task of introducing our third and final mayoral candidate to be announced today. Our final mayoral candidate to be announced today is 42 years old and has experience as an engineer technician and a master diesel fitter at Transnet. He was a supervisor there before he made the decision to join council as a councillor in 2016 in the city of Tshwane. He served as the MMC of Utility Services in 2019 and as the acting mayor for 5 months. Ladies and gentlemen, the city of Tshwane is a municipality where the coalition project has not succeeded. There have been 3 elected mayors and a provincial administrator in the city of Tshwane in 5 years. And this is a city that is the capital of our country, is not being delivered, is not having successfully service delivery delivered to the people of the city. We are very proud to announce Abel Tau as our mayoral candidate for the city of Tshwane, an individual whose time in the city of Tshwane demonstrated a departure from the failure of service delivery. And we know that he is the individual who will move our capital city to be the city that we can be proud of once again. Abel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Fellow colleagues, members of the media, my fellow residents of the city of Tshwane, good morning. It is an honor for me to be here and humbly offer myself as a candidate for the mayorship of the city of Tshwane. As a former MMC and an acting mayor serving the people of Tshwane, I believe that I am ready, able to serve the residents of this beautiful city. I want to thank everyone in our candidate election who cast their votes, those who voted for me, my competitors, and in other ballots. I'm eager and ready to engage with all our residents on the ground and help move Tshwane forward. Without a doubt, the people of Tshwane are hungry for change that will better their lives and the lives of their loved ones by getting access to proper service delivery. Since 2016, the residents of the city of Tshwane have not enjoyed a stable, effective governance. Following the elections of 2016, the DA parachuted 2 mayors into the city, both of whom were mired in scandals and inability to deliver services. The ANC was no better. The manipulations of the ANC provincial government that placed the city under administration proved not only to be unlawful, but nothing more than petty politicking. Indeed, the provincial government administrators led the city from bad to worse. The election of DA's Mayor Randall Williams, Tshwane's present ghost mayor, has not improved the lives of the people of Tshwane in any way either. Councillor Williams, through his absence, has proved he lacks the depth of leadership required to deliver the change and a plan to do so. Once in office, I will work to rebuild the residents' faith in local government by getting basics of service delivery right in every one of our communities. Residents want to have access to potable water, unlike what has been happening to the people of Hammanskraal for over 16 years. They want reliable electricity in their communities, unlike what is currently happening, where residents of the east of Pretoria are sitting without electricity since Saturday to this day, and they don't know when they will have their electricity back. They want to know that municipal services are managed by a competent civil service which is ready and able to meet their needs. To deliver these basic services in Tshwane, I would prioritize the following: improving visible service delivery by capacitating frontline departments with resources to address service complaints, increasing visible policing, particularly in poor communities, so that all residents feel and are safe, unlike what is currently happening, where resources are being moved from Mamelodi to Garsfontein, as demonstrated by the ghost mayor not so long ago. Increasing expenditure on the maintenance and upgrading of basic infrastructure to end prolonged water and power outages in Tshwane. As we have seen in the past 2 weeks, it was unfortunate to see people having to scramble for water in dirty streams and boreholes and areas where they shouldn't be getting water. Implementing a multi-pronged approach to provision of housing to fight growing housing challenges in the city. This includes revitalizing the CBD and making a clean and safe hub for business and affordable housing. Getting the city of Tshwane out of bankruptcy and back to financial health through improved financial controls. Whilst this, ladies and gentlemen, is not an exhaustive list of what we are going to do, these are core components that lie at the core of the action needed to be taken for us to turn the fortunes of the city around and to finally bring visible service delivery to every home in our city. For that to happen, we urge the residents of Tshwane to go out to register to vote when they have an opportunity to, but more importantly, they must go out and vote for ActionSA so the work of turning Tshwane around can start in earnest. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you very much, Abel, and to our 3 mayoral candidates. I think it is appropriate for me, just by way of some departing thoughts, to indicate to you that our campaign will now take full form going forward. It will be a campaign in which we will communicate who our candidates are. We will do so openly. We will put their track records on the table. We will communicate their experience and their skills to the residents of these 3 metros. And I would like to point out that at this point in time, it is only ActionSA that has communicated who our candidates are and given members of the public the opportunity to explore the fitness of these candidates to serve these 3 great cities. We will begin the process of finalizing our blueprints to change the lives of residents in these cities. These blueprints will focus on getting the right people in the right positions so that we can have a capable state. It will take the form of fighting corruption, unleashing the private sector in partnering with government to address the social backlogs that exist in these cities, in addressing the declining state of our roads, water, and electricity network, and taking these networks to communities that in our democratic era have never had access to the dignity that comes with basic services. Our campaign will be positive, it will be solution-oriented, and it will be located within the broader context of ActionSA's commitment to fix South Africa. Thank you very much, Lorato. I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you to everybody who is still here with us. Congratulations to our 3 mayoral candidates for Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and Tshwane. We're very excited for the forthcoming campaign process. We wish you all of the best. We are fully behind you as an organization. I think that I speak for everybody who has been part of this process to say that it was quite revolutionary. South Africa's very first process of its kind, and we're looking forward to getting more and more South Africans used to it, so that we can elect leaders who actually represent our aspirations as a nation. With that said, I want to thank all of our participants from our organization, ActionSA. I want to thank all of the mayoral candidates for your thoughts as to how we're going to move the 3 respective cities forward. It is at this point that I open now to members of the media for a Q&A. While some of you are getting yourselves ready, there is already one question in the chat box from Pule of News 24. Michael, I want to hand this one over to you as it addresses a remark that you made regarding yesterday's announcement. The question reads, will ActionSA take legal action against the Moseneke report, which recommended the postponement of local government elections? Michael, please take it. In the meantime, anyone else who's got a question, please raise your hand or forward it to me in the chat function. Michael, over to you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Lorato, and thank you to Pule. I know this is obviously not the reason for which we are convened today, but certainly a matter of great public interest in the context of yesterday's announcement. I think, Pule, to be frank with you, we don't take issue with Justice Moseneke's report. I think Justice Moseneke has pulled together a report that has very carefully balanced the difficult competing requirements of managing people's right to vote and participate within the democratic project and people's right to health and life within the context of a pandemic. Our issue is not with Justice Moseneke, but actually with the fact that it became a situation where South Africans' rights to vote and to life had to be a choice between these 2 things, when actually our constitution should guarantee both. And I think this is a function of 2 things. One, it is a state that has under-vaccinated our population in such a manner that we could not hold an election at the end of October, having reached that critical point of community immunity. But number 2, that the IEC has not communicated and led in the process of communicating measures that would give the South African public confidence that they could exercise their right to vote without contracting the virus. It is contained in the report itself that a public opinion survey conducted demonstrated that 61% of the South African public felt that the election should be postponed. And the only way that could be true would be if the South African public did not feel confident in measures taken by the IEC to keep them safe. So I hope that answers your question, Pule.
Thank you very much, Michael. Colleagues, I do not see anyone else in the chat function. I'm going to give it 1 more second of a round of questions. Does anyone else have a burning question to ask any one of our mayoral candidates or anybody who is on this platform? Okay, here we go. This is from Cliff, the reporter. Cliff, I'm not sure which media house you represent. If you can let me know in the chat function. However, I'm going to ask your question on your behalf. The question reads, did the party receive any independent candidates and from where? To Mr. Mashaba, the question is, does the former mayor have a new priorities list? I think that's what it reads. It doesn't read clearly. And then, okay, Cliff is from a newspaper in Alexandra called the Alex Reporter. Mr. Mashaba, I'm going to give you that question first, And then I'm going to ask Michael that you please come back and answer the question that asks, did the party receive any independent candidates and from where? Let me give the floor to Mr. Mashaba.
Thank you very much, Lerato and Cliff, for the question. As regards to my return to the city of Johannesburg, as I indicated that I have unfinished business. As you are aware, the mayoralty of the city runs for 5 years, and unfortunately, I only served for 3 years. I think this time around, I'm fortunate enough coming back with experience. The 3 years of serving as a mayor of the city of Johannesburg opened my eyes to the dysfunctional state of the city of Johannesburg. Obviously, I think that my first big priority is going to do the institutional review, where we collapse all the municipality, all the city entities. You remember, when I was the mayor, tried that exercise to collapse all these entities so that you don't have the city power, Joburg Water, and so forth. All of them must obviously be part of the city of Johannesburg. Firstly, the city will save money. Will save almost 30 million rands in the payment of the director's fee. But for me, it's not the saving that is important. What is important to me, it's going to really be to expedite service delivery, where I don't have to really go through a board and the chairman of an entity before a decision is made. When a client or a resident has got issues with the billing query, we as a city can deal with it directly. We don't have to really go through City Power or Johannesburg Water. All these entities are going to be with immediate effect collapse into the city of Johannesburg. This is a very important big project that we've got to undertake. But secondly, we also need to really get rid of cadre deployment. I think we need to put together a professional public service. I did that in the beginning using the skills audit. I think this time around, we've got to be brutal. We've got to act with speed to ensure that we don't really have people who sabotages our project of saving society. So what over and above the skills audit, we are going to do the lifestyle audit. I would like and appeal to the residents of the city of Johannesburg, please give us the outright majority so that we don't have to negotiate the firing of people who don't obviously serve society, they serve political parties, because ours is about service delivery. So we want to do a lifestyle audit in helping group forensic and investigation services, so that we can ensure that we firstly deal with the question of corruption, but also at the same time make sure that we put in the right people in their jobs, because we will know with the skills audit, people will run because we know we're going to catch them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashaba. Cliff, I believe you are answered. The last question goes to Michael. Did the party receive any independent candidates, and if so, from where?
Yeah, thank you, Lerato, and thanks for the question, Cliff. It is my understanding that candidates who've previously stood as independent candidates were involved in our candidate selection processes. I cannot speak, I'm afraid, with facts regarding how they did in the primaries. I'm afraid I didn't prepare that particular statistic, but I would be happy to make sure that we go and locate that information. But I suppose, Cliff, the best answer to what you said is we have many candidates who were successful in these processes who are brand new to politics. And by that, I deem them to have emerged from a non-political environment. And these are candidates that we are very proud of, because they come with track records of having succeeded in community service, as business people, as professionals in various rights. And these individuals have won these primaries precisely because communities have seen in them people who will most effectively serve their needs. But I'm sure we can revert back with any further information that you're looking for, Cliff.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Michael, for that. I saw Sipho Mahlangu. Mahlangu, I'm so sorry. Your hand is up. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I'm Sipho from Social Community Radio. My question is directed to Mr. Tau. as you know that Soshanguve is experiencing many toying over the billing issues, which we, maybe do you have a plan to maybe to solve that problem in the city of Tshwane, especially in Soshanguve, the issue of billing system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tipo. Mr. Abel Tau, mayoral candidate for the city of Tshwane, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lerato, and thanks for the question, Sipo. I think, as you know, that I have been in the city. Definitely, we have a solution. It is unfortunate that we don't take our residents to confidence when it comes to the bill that land at their doorstep coming from us. Now, by law, you are required as somebody who's billing an individual to ensure that you quantify what you bill them for. In law, you are only allowed to estimate 3 times for 3 months. Unfortunately, the city of Tshwane has been estimating for over a year, which creates this situation in Tshwane where residents are asking, how do you quantify the bill that is before me? So the unfortunate situation that you find yourself in Soshanguve and surrounding areas is that indeed the residents are aware that the bills that are before them may not be correct, and unfortunately the city is at loggerheads not trying to resolve that, which is something that needs to be resolved, because as I can tell you now, Sipo, the unfortunate part is that there are meter readers in the city of Tshwane who most of them are not doing their job. They are sitting around and you are expected to either submit your own readings and stuff like that. So this is something that would be a thing of the past. As much as we will employ innovative ideas to make sure that the bills are correct, that residents have confidence in the bills that are before them, stuff such as smart metering and that kind of innovations that will come with, we'll definitely make sure that we take the residents to confidence, especially in an era like this one where the city is bankrupt, as has been said by the mayor. So the long and short of it is that we are going to definitely make sure that we inspire confidence in the hearts of residents and not bully them like the current situation where unilaterally the city has taken a decision to take 60% of any recharge from poor people as payment for historic bills. So those are big problems that need people like ourselves to make sure that we are conversant with them, we take communities into confidence, and we resolve those problems with solutions that would be lasting. And I'm sure that I'm capable and able of doing that.
Thank you so very much, Abel Tau.
Lerato, I think you're on mute.
Just the internet just stole my thunder there, Michael. I was saying something so absolutely beautiful. I was just saying that, fellow South Africans, thank you so much for being with us on this platform this morning. Again, congratulations to all of our mayoral candidates. Thank you to the new media houses that have been with us this morning. Thank you to everybody who's participated in this process. And most of all, thank you to the voters who came out in their numbers in this historic moment of the primaries in our beautiful country of South Africa. We have reached the end of our program. Thank you so very much to all of you for having been with us, and we look forward to seeing you once again. Mayoral candidates, your critical jobs start now. Thank you so very much. My name is Lerato Ngobeni. Goodbye.